Hello guys, how are you? I hope you're coping well with this coronavirus crisis and I'm here to explain to you what the passive voice is. First, we are going to have a look at the difference between the active and the passive voice, okay? As you can see in the presentation, we can say the same thing in two very different ways. In the active voice, we would say people buy medicine every day, whereas in the passive voice, we would say medicine is bought every day. Have a look at how we form the passive voice, okay? We need to form it with the verb to be plus the participle. And to illustrate what we are talking about here, I'm giving you a few examples of the passive voice, okay? In the first sentence, you can see that a film is directed by a very competent person. Number two, you can read that the school doors are closed at 8:35 every morning. In number three, the Guernica was painted by Picasso in 1937. In number four, many plays were written by Shakespeare. And in number five, a vaccine will be discovered soon. In all of them, you've got same structure, okay? First of all, you have passive subject. Then you have the verb to be. Then you have the participle of the main verb, which ends in ed if it's regular, and if it's irregular, remember, we have to use the third column of the irregular verbs. Then optionally, we have the agent preceded by the preposition by. It's not essential, as I said. And finally, we have other complements. Finally, guys, I'm giving you some tips for rephrasing, okay? These 5 tips are going to be very important for you to do some fantastic rephrasing exercises. Tip number 1, the object becomes subject, okay? Tip number 2, the verb to be must be in the same tense and form as the main verb in the active voice. Tip number 3, the main verb must always be in the participle. Tip number 4, when we think the passive object can be important, we introduce it with by, as we can see in this example here. The beach was cleaned by the volunteers. And finally, tip number 5 is not generally used when the active subject is they or people, as we can see, for example, in the last of the examples that I put before. They will know all the answers. All the answers will be known. It's not necessary for us to say by them because it's obvious. And to illustrate how these tips work, we are going to have a look at these examples here, okay? He cleans the room. The room is cleaned. Now notice how the main verb is in the present, cleans, and how the verb to be needs to be in the same tense, okay? The room is cleaned. And now also notice how we are transforming the main verb, cleans, into the past participle, cleaned, okay? Example number 2, I drove a car. Now notice that the main verb is in the past. Okay, so the verb to be needs to be in the past. A car was driven. Why driven? Because it's the past participle of an irregular verb. Drive, drove, driven. This, of course, gets complicated when we use continuous tense like we are doing in number 3. He's taking a picture. If we need to transform this in the passive, we need to say a picture is being taken, okay? So notice how we use the verb to be in the continuous tense. A picture is being taken. In number 4, we are using a present perfect. We have just bought a new house. So the verb to be needs to be in the present perfect too. A new house has just been bought, okay? And finally, we can also use the passive voice with the modal verbs, as we can see in example number 4. My students must revise the lesson. The lesson must be revised. Notice how the verb to be needs to be with the same modal verb as we are using in the active voice. Okay, the same goes with the future. Okay, they will know all the answers. All the answers will be known. Now, finally, guys, it's time to start with the rephrasing exercises that you will have to do. Okay, right? So here I am giving them to you. In total, you have 10 rephrasing exercises, as you can see here, okay? And well, good luck with the exercise. We will be checking them shortly. I will let you know on the WhatsApp group.